Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're digging into an independent report from HDIN Research that pits two gaming hardware giants against each other. And really, it's a classic battle of strategies, so we're going to break down who's doing what and how it's working out for them.
So let's jump right into the central question here. Is it better to be a specialist or a generalist? To figure that out, we're looking at two companies with completely different playbooks. You've got Turtle Beach, the specialist that has absolutely owned its niche for years, and then you've got Corsair Gaming, the generalist that's trying to be the one-stop shop for every gamer out there.
So, here's how we're going to break this all down. We'll look at the economic climate, dive into their financials, compare their product ecosystems, decode the risks they themselves are reporting, and then pull it all together for the final takeaway.
All right, first things first, let's set the stage. A company's performance never happens in a vacuum, right? To really get why they made the numbers they did, we have to understand the world they were operating in back in 2025.
And you know, it was a pretty tough year for consumer spending. Both companies talked about some serious headwinds in the reports. We're talking stubborn inflation, high interest rates, and all sorts of geopolitical stuff. Long story short, when money gets tight for people, that brand new gaming headset can easily slip from a must-have to a maybe next year.
But it wasn't all doom and gloom, not by a long shot. The industry actually had some powerful tailwinds too. You had the launch of new CPUs and GPUs, which always gives enthusiasts a great reason to upgrade. Plus, blockbuster games like Call of Duty kept players hooked and wanting that competitive edge you get from new gear.
Okay, so that's the big picture. But here's where things get really interesting. Let's see how those mixed market signals actually translated to the bottom line for each company. The results? Well, they might just surprise you.
So just looking at the top line, pure revenue, it's not even a contest. Corsair's massive, sprawling portfolio with its 34 different product lines pulled in over $1 billion more than Turtle Beach. I mean, this is the power of that generalist we-sell-everything model on full display.
But hold on, because this is where the script completely flips. When we look at actual profitability, Turtle Beach, with its much smaller revenue, somehow managed to turn a profit of nearly $16 million. And Corsair, with all those massive sales numbers, they actually posted a $16 million net loss. Wild, right?
This table here adds another fascinating layer. Just look at the gross margin. For every dollar in sales, Turtle Beach kept over 37 cents, while Corsair kept just under 29. That's a huge difference. And it's a classic benefit of being a specialist. When you have a strong brand in a specific niche, you can often command better pricing. But it's worth noting, Corsair's huge scale did allow it to generate way more cash from its operations, which is always a key sign of a healthy business.
So you're probably asking, how in the world does this happen? Well, it all comes down to their core strategies. Let's take a look at their products, because this is where that whole specialist versus generalist debate really comes to life.
And boom, here is laid out perfectly. On one side, you have Turtle Beach, the undisputed king of a very profitable hill, console headsets. And now they're using that strong base to carefully expand into related areas like controllers. On the other side, you've got Corsair, whose ambition is to own your entire desk, from the components inside your PC to the microphone you stream with.
For Turtle Beach, its brand is just about everything. For over 16 years, that name has been totally synonymous with great sound on your console. That is a powerful, trusted foundation to build on as you start to introduce new products to your loyal customers.
Corsair, though, is playing a different game. They define their strength not just by the sheer number of products they sell, but by the software that connects it all. Platforms like iQ and Elgato aren't just little extras. They're the strategic glue designed to create one seamless experience, hopefully locking you into their ecosystem for your entire setup.
Okay, but no strategy is bulletproof, right? To get the full picture, we have to look at the other side of the coin, the risks. And the best place to find those is in the company's own annual 10K filings, where they have to tell investors what keeps them up at night.
So for the specialist, a major risk is concentration. Turtle Beach flat out says that relying on a small number of huge retail partners is a big vulnerability. Think about it. If your relationship with just one of those big box stores goes south, it could have a massive impact on your business.
Now, for the generalist, a key risk they highlight is all about corporate governance. Corsair openly states that a single stockholder has significant control, and that stockholder's interests might not always line up perfectly with what other investors want. That just creates a different kind of uncertainty.
And of course, it doesn't stop there. Each of their models comes with its own unique set of headaches. Turtle Beach's fate is closely tied to whenever Sony and Microsoft decide to launch a new console.
Corsair, on the other hand, is tied to PC part launches, and its software, which is a strength, can quickly become a liability if it gets buddy. And, well, when you compete in 34 categories, you face a ton of competition on every single front.
All right, we've looked at the market, the money, the strategies, and the risks. So let's try and pull this all together for the analyst's final takeaway.
What we've really seen here is a classic business school dilemma played out in real life. You've got the profitable specialist, Turtle Beach, which managed to make money in a tough market, even as its revenue went down. And then you have the revenue growth generalist, Corsair, which grew its sales but actually lost money doing it.
And this leaves us with the ultimate question about what works long-term in this incredibly dynamic industry. In a market that's always changing with new tech and economic shifts, which model is actually more resilient? Is it the deep, profitable focus of a specialist, or is it the wide, integrated ecosystem of a generalist? Honestly, the answer to that is probably going to define the next chapter of the gaming hardware wars.